Hello and welcome back to the Ignite Your Fire Within series. If you are new to the program, feel free to check out some of the other videos we have. And if you're a regular, welcome back. It's awesome to have you. And what we can find is that we have a few videos now in the library. We can start to find our practice 2 to 3 times a week. It'll just really help us begin to learn the postures and start to find those stretches throughout the body. So as we continue with the concept from last week, moving into these flows, connecting those postures together, I am going to invite everyone into their reclined Shavasana. So we're going to find ourselves grounding through the pelvis and the shoulders as we relax onto our backs. If we notice any low back pain or low back tension, we can find that we have the knees bent, the feet grounding upon the earth. We can step the feet about mat distance apart, allow the knees to fall together. And if we want to find those legs can extend out in front of us, relaxing completely upon the ground. If we have those legs extended, we'll notice that as the legs relax, the toes gently begin to splay outward. The arms gently melt into the earth, the hands taking their natural C curve. Finding our Shavasana posture, we'll begin to draw the awareness of our mind to that natural, rhythmic flowing breath. Just simply allowing that breath to be. Noticing how it moves through our body. How each inhale is a gentle expansion. And each exhale, that ability to release. And as we begin to build on top of this natural flowing breath, we'll move to our diaphragmic breath on our next inhalation. We hug the low belly in, lengthen through the spine, filling the expanse of our lungs. Our exhale releases the chest. We strengthen across the base of the ribs, continuing to hug the low belly in so that we can ground into the foundation of our shoulders and pelvis. Our inhale, the hug of the low belly lengthens through the spine, fills the expanse of our lungs. And our exhale releases the chest, strengthens through the core, grounding into the earth. And as we continue with this diaphragmic breath, we'll begin to add an H to the back of our throat. As we hold this H to the back of our throat, our breath will become audible. Each inhale, an SA sound, and each exhale, an HA. We'll notice the lips will remain closed, the tongue will release from the roof of the mouth. Relaxing the facial muscles, we release around the eyes and the ears. And as we become acquainted with this Ujjayi breath, finding the calmness and the strength that comes with it. And as we try to maintain this Ujjayi breath, that strength and calmness throughout the duration of our practice, I invite you to bend your knees, drawing the feet flat upon the earth if we aren't already there. And then gently we'll begin to work the knees into the chest, hinging at the hips as we continue to ground through the pelvis, wrapping the arms around the legs, continuing to ground through the shoulders, finding our Apanasana posture. We'll notice that we've created a stomach to thigh connection as we maintain length in our spine. Gently, we'll relax the arms alongside the body. We'll extend the soles of the feet up to the sky, finding that length across the back sides of the legs as we continue to ground through the pelvis, lengthening through the spine as the shoulders relax into the earth. And gently we'll begin to release the heels all the way down to ground, keeping the legs as extended as our body allows us as we find that strengthening through the core. And then we'll notice that the hands will slide in, maybe the thumbs gently slide up under the hips on their side respectively. We reach through those heels, we'll find that we begin to lift the legs to about a 30-degree angle. Nice work through the core, hugging that low belly in to assist in maintaining that length of the spine. And then gently we'll draw the legs to our 60-degree angle, continuing to work that extension through the legs, grounding through the pelvis and the shoulders. And then our legs lift to that 90-degree angle, our candlestick posture, continuing to ground through the pelvis and the shoulders. And we'll gently release the knees into the chest. We'll extend the arms out wide to a T. And we'll find that we relax the knees over to the right-hand side. And as we relax those knees over to the right, we'll find that we continue to ground through the shoulders, inviting that twist into our core. And then we'll draw the gaze, perhaps over to our left fingertips, completing that spinal twist. And gently, we'll begin to draw the gaze back up towards the sky. The knees will work their way into the chest. We'll find that those knees will gently begin to relax over to the left-hand side. We continue again to ground through the shoulders, inviting that twist through the core. And then gently, the gaze can begin to draw over to the right fingertips, finding that completion of our spinal twist. And we just allow ourselves to relax into this twist. Gently, the gaze begins to work its way back up towards the sky, the knees gently into the chest. We'll find the arms will wrap around the legs, giving ourselves a bit of a hug of appreciation. And as we relax back into our foundations, grounding through the pelvis and the shoulders, we want to take our left foot and begin to extend all the way through that heel. That leg gets nice and long, and we gently float it down to the earth, encouraging that reach from the heel all the way through the body, extending through the top of our head. And we'll continue to hug that right knee into the chest, and we'll begin to assist that right knee over towards our right shoulder. Now, it doesn't have to get all the way over to the shoulder. All we're doing is opening up those inner hip flexors as we invite that stretch there through the hips. We want to continue to ground through the entirety of our pelvis. Hugging the low belly in assists in maintaining the length of our spine as we continue to relax our shoulders into the earth. Gently, we'll draw that right knee back into the chest. We'll find that we'll extend that right foot up towards the sky, working that length through the backside of our leg. The hands can either draw to the hamstring, up to the calf, or even those right hand and those peace fingers can take that yogi lock around the big toe. And gently we'll release our left hand to the top of our left leg as a reminder to keep that extension through that left heel all the way up to the top of the head. As we find those pelvis continues to ground to the earth, the hug of the low belly rolls the shoulders into the earth, that right foot begins to float over to the right hand side. So as that foot begins to float over to the right, we'll notice that stretch opens across the inner hip flexors. We encourage that left side of the pelvis to remain grounded upon the earth, working through that core strength to maintain the length of our spine. And then we notice that we allow that stretch to happen across the inner hip flexors. And gently we'll extend our right foot back up towards the sky. We'll take our left hand up, we'll replace the right, and let that right hand fall down to our half T. We'll continue to ground through the pelvis and the shoulders, and then we'll begin to roll onto the left-hand side of our pelvis, inviting this twist. We want to continue to keep that spine nice and long as the shoulders continue to ground, noticing that movement comes from the strength of our core. And then maybe we want to take the gaze over towards those right fingertips, and we want to reach from the heel of our right foot all the way through our right fingertips. And simultaneously, we want to reach from that left heel all the way up through to the top of our head. And we'll find ourselves gently extending that right foot back up towards the sky. We'll draw the hands to the calf, either above the knee or below the ankle. finding that we begin to draw the forehead up towards our knee, working that strength through the core as the shoulders begin to lift off the earth. Now maybe this is where we hang out. Maybe we invite a gentle bend through the elbows as we start to work that stretch into our right hamstring, finding that leg remains nice and extended. We also want to remember to continue to extend through that left leg as we find that lift or that extension out of our foundations. And gently, we'll begin to relax the shoulders back into the earth. We'll release the hands from our leg as that right foot floats down to meet the left. And we'll gently draw the left knee up into the chest, wrapping the arms around the shins, giving it a nice hug. And remember that we want to reach through that right heel, working that length through the leg all the way up through the spine with the strength of the core. As we roll those shoulders into the earth with each inhalation, lengthens through the neck, through the top of the head. And then gently, we'll begin to work that left knee over to our left, towards our left shoulder, encouraging that grounding through the pelvis as we gently open through the inner hip flexors. Remembering to keep that reach from that right heel all the way through to the crown of our head. And gently we'll begin to work that left knee up into the chest. We'll find that left foot gently extends up towards the sky, the hands drawing behind the hamstring, the calf, or that yogi lock with our left piece fingers. We're going to float our right hand down to the top of our right leg as a reminder to keep that extension through our heels. As we continue to ground through the pelvis and the shoulders, we'll begin to float that left foot over to the left-hand side. So we remember that we want to continue to ground through that right side of the pelvis. We want to utilize that strength of our core to counteract the weight of our leg being drawn towards the earth with the strength of gravity. So we want to notice that length through our spine as we continue to ground through that right side of our body. And gently, we'll begin to extend our left foot back up towards the sky, gently drawing that right hand up to replace our left. It falls down to our half T. We'll gently begin to roll across the pelvis onto its right-hand side as we continue to ground through the shoulders, finding that extension through our heels as we find that reach from fingertip to fingertip that lengthens across the collarbones, allows those shoulders to relax a little bit more into the earth. And we want to find that extension from our pelvic floor all the way up the spine, extending out the top of our head. And gently, we'll begin to work that left foot back up towards the sky. We'll draw the hands to the calf, either above the knee or below the ankle. We'll begin to work the forehead up towards our knee, utilizing the strength of our core as the shoulders gently draw off the earth. If we want to intensify the stretch through that hamstring of our left leg, gently inviting the elbows to bend, the knee begins to draw in towards the head. And we just work that strength and the stretch throughout this posture, remembering to keep the extension through our heels. And gently we'll find ourselves relaxing the shoulders onto the earth. Drawing that right knee back up into the chest, we'll wrap the arms around the shins, giving ourselves a few moments of a hug here of appreciation. And gently, we'll begin to release the arms alongside the body as we find ourselves rolling forward and back, finding that we roll up one side and gently down the other of the spine. And then as we gently begin to rock our way up onto our sit bones, grounding the soles of the feet upon the earth, the hug of our low belly lengthens out of our foundation, and gently we'll invite the shins parallel to the earth into our boat posture. Now the hands can be behind the knees in a supported boat. Perhaps those hands extend out in front of us, finding this unsupported boat. Maybe we find that the legs want to extend, and the hands draw behind them in our supported boat with our legs extended. Maybe the hands again can extend out in front of us with those legs extended, and we find a variation that works for our body. So we're not trying to fight what we already have, but we want to utilize the strength that we have so that we can gain more. And then gently we'll find the soles of the feet will release down to the earth. We'll let the knees gently separate, finding that we begin to reach the chest forward through the knees, trying to see how much length we can get through that spine, drawing that stretch through those inner hip flexors. I want us to feel that lift out of our sit bones. And then we'll notice with the feet grounded upon the earth, we're inviting that stretch into our ankles as well. Now, if we can find ourselves folding beyond the knees, we can work those elbows to the front side of the knees or the shins. Maybe the arms will extend, maybe they'll reach towards the wall behind us. And we find that availability of our posture. And gently, we'll begin to draw those hands back to our heart center, reaching through the chest forward and up, the shoulders turn up and over the hips. We'll draw the knees back together. We lift to that boat variation. And as we find ourselves in this boat variation, lifting that tailbone off the earth, the hug of the low belly encourages that lengthening through the spine. And we'll begin to work our way into our half boat. So we want to find that we begin to extend the legs out in front of us. We're only moving the legs right now, so we want to keep that firm foundation through the sit bones. And notice how this begins to increase the strength through the core. Now this might be where we want to be. Maybe we just work the legs out a little bit and we find that availability of our posture. Maybe the shoulders can begin to release down towards the ground as well, as we begin to find ourselves slowly rolling onto our pelvis. And then we can lift out of that pelvis, finding the legs extend out and the shoulders lift off of the earth. And then gently we'll find that we inhale, lift out of that foundation, drawing that length into our body as we lift to that boat variation that is our own. And gently we'll find our release to our half boat. We lift to our boat, and our release to our half boat. And again, our lift to our boat. But this time our exhale gently releases the soles of the feet to the earth. We'll ground through the hands as we roll up to our standing Tadasana. Finding those feet anywhere from about hip distance apart to big toe mound touching, that length lifting out of that foundation. We'll hug the low belly and let that tailbone gently release down towards the earth as we roll the shoulders gently, very gently back and down the spine. We want to find this feeling natural, so we reteach our bodies how to stand correctly. And then gently, we reach through the fingertips wide and up to our Utthita Hastasana. And as we find this Utthita Hastasana, our extended standing posture, we want to continue to hug the low belly in, drawing those floating ribs together. Let the shoulders gently relax. We want to notice the extension through our fingertips, even though I know that we can't see them. And then we're going to find that we begin to hinge at the hips here, releasing to our forward fold. Finding this stomach to thigh connection, we'll gently draw opposite hand to opposite elbow. Maybe we find a gentle swaying motion to the left, to the right, a little bit of ergonomic movement. And as we even out that ragdolling motion to our midline, gently releasing the hands to the earth, we lift to our half forward fold, working that length through the spine and that extension through the legs. And we find what is available to us. And then gently we invite the knees to bend, relaxing back into our forward fold, that stomach to thigh connection. The hands will gently begin to draw up to the tailbone, interlacing together. We find that reach through the knuckles, all while keeping that stomach to thigh connection. And then we'll see if we can get those palms to touch, and then maybe those hands will begin to reach up towards the sky, inviting that stretch into our shoulder girdle. And those hands might even begin to fall over the head. And now what's really cool is we want to notice that length as we ground into the earth, moves up the back sides of our legs, across the hips as we gently stretch through them. That strengthening through the core lengthens through the low back as we extend that stretch through the spine to our shoulders. And then we'll feel that stretch that moves up the back sides of the arms, the triceps, and into the forearms. And we find that we've stretched through the entire body. And gently we'll draw the hands back to our tailbone. We'll unlace the fingers. They fall naturally back to the earth. And gently rolling up one vertebrae at a time, finding that we utilize that core strength to stack each vertebrae one atop the other. Encouraging those shoulders to remain relaxed, they'll naturally slide back and down the spine, working that length through the neck as the crown of the head reaches to the sky. And then we'll find ourselves gently sitting into our chair. We'll find that weight through the heels, the strength through our quadriceps, the shoulders gently trying to find their way up and over the hips as we encourage the length through our spine. That hug of the low belly allows the tailbone to reach gently towards the backs of our heels. The floating ribs draw together to work the rib cage over that pelvic floor. As we work that length through the spine, the shoulders relax. And then we find that extension through our fingertips. We'll gently lift our right foot off of the earth, finding that we step our right foot back towards the back edge of our mat, keeping the hips nice and square to the front of our mat just as they were in our chair. And then as we find that grounding through that back foot, grounding through the ball of the foot of our right leg. That extension through that right leg encourages a strengthening through the right quadricep. We'll allow the hips to gently shift forward, bending our left knee either directly above or just behind that left ankle. Now maybe we want to lengthen out this crescent lunge stance, finding what's available and comfortable. And we'll work the hug of our low belly. Encourage that tailbone to gently reach towards the back side of your right knee. That hug of the low belly encourages a lengthening through the low back, inviting that stretch across the front side of our hip through that psoas muscle grouping. The hug of the low belly in draws the floating ribs together. Those shoulders extend up towards the sky. The shoulders relax back and down the spine. The hands extend up towards the sky. Gently, we'll release the hands to our heart center. We'll find that we inhale, lengthening through the spine. Our next exhale is going to invite this twist as we draw the right elbow to the inside of our left knee. As we work this twist, we want to keep the thumbs at the heart center so that we know that we're twisting through the core. And as we find the elbow can draw to the inside of the knee, maybe it draws to the top of the knee, and perhaps it moves beyond the knee. And we work that availability of the depth of our twist here, trying to find that strength through the obliques and through the lats of the upper back. The shoulders want to remain relaxed back and down the spine, and we'll gently release this twist back to our midline. Finding our next exhale, we'll gently begin to reach the chest forward as we fold halfway, shifting that weight into our left foot. Our next inhale draws our right leg parallel with the earth. As we work our way into this warrior three, gently we begin to extend through that left grounded foot. Lifting this warrior three to its extension, noticing how those hips remain parallel to the earth. Finding that extension from that back right heel all the way through the crown of our head. And gently we'll invite that left knee to bend. We'll ground through the ball of our right foot. Our inhale draws those shoulders back up and over the hips to our crescent lunge. And we'll gently shift that weight back into that front left foot, stepping our right foot up to meet it into our chair. We'll find ourselves exhaling, releasing to our forward fold, finding ourselves a few moments here. And gently we lift to our half forward fold. We'll gently release back into our forward fold. And we'll find ourselves rising into our chair, the weight in the heels, that strength through the quadriceps, working that length out of the foundation of our pelvic floor. And gently we lift that left foot off of the earth. We'll find we step that left foot back to that crescent lunge, grounding through the ball of our left foot and through the entirety of our right foot. Feel that strength of those feet pressing into the earth as we begin to work that strength into that left quadricep, working that extension through our left leg. So we invite that stretch across the front side of our left hip across that psoas muscle grouping. The hug of our low belly stabilizes through the pelvis as we invite that right knee to bend, either directly above or just behind the ankle. That tailbone will gently reach towards the earth as it invites the stretch a little bit more through that psoas muscle grouping. We draw the floating ribs together, working that length through the thoracic spine. The shoulders relax, lengthening across the collarbones. And then gently those hands extending up towards the sky. We'll let the hands gently release to our heart center, the thumbs gluing to the center of our chest. And gently we'll invite this twist as that left elbow begins to make its way over to the right knee. And we want to find it comes to the inside of our knee first, so that we can just double check, make sure those hips remain nice and square to the front of the room as we continue to find that twist through the core. And then maybe we work the elbow to the top of the knee, maybe it draws beyond the knee, finding that rotation through the spine with the strength of our core. And as we continue to try and work that length through the collarbones, letting the shoulders relax back and down. Maybe we find that elbow, that top side elbow, begins to relax into the rib cage, noticing that allows that top shoulder to relax a little bit more. And gently, we'll release this twist back to our midline. We'll find ourselves drawing those shoulders and that length out of that foundation up over those hips. And we'll begin to shift that body weight forward into our right leg. As we reach through the chest, we lift that leg gently, the back left leg gently off of the earth, finding that length from the crown of the head all the way through to our heel. Those hips nice and parallel to the earth, we gently begin to work that length into our right leg, finding our warrior three. Now maybe the hands have stayed at the heart center. Maybe we try to extend them out over the head and see that length we can find. Maybe we release them alongside the body to our airplane arms. And gently, we begin to draw the hands back to our heart center. We'll begin to bend our right knee. The ball of that left foot gently grounds as we draw those shoulders back up and over the hips, reaching through those fingertips for our crescent lunge. And then gently we shift that weight back into our right foot, stepping that left foot up to meet it into our chair, grounding through the heels, that strength through our quadriceps. And we'll find ourselves gently releasing into our forward fold. Finding that stomach to thigh connection. Perhaps we'll wrap the arms around the legs, finding opposite hand to opposite elbow. Maybe we want to reach the elbows towards the heels, inviting that stretch through the shoulders across the upper back. Maybe we find that we can draw the hands to the ankles, hugging the elbows gently together, working that length further through the spine. Maybe the hands can even scoop up the heels like shovels, finding the availability of the depth within this posture for yourself. Listening to the body and acknowledging what it's saying. And then perhaps we want to start to reach the hips up towards the sky, finding that we can invite that depth of the stretch into our hamstrings. We encourage that stomach to thigh connection to remain. Maybe we've even found a chest to knee connection. And gently we'll release the hands from the legs, the feet, or the elbows, lifting to our half forward fold. Gently we'll release the hands to the earth, stepping the feet back to our plank. We'll begin to shift the body weight forward, gently bending the elbows as they hug into the ribs for our Chaturanga Dandasana. Reaching through the chest forward and up, we roll the shoulders back and down the spine, finding our cobra or our up dog. And then we'll utilize the strength of our core. We'll reach the hips back and up to our downward dog. And we'll find that lift out of this foundation. And we'll find ourselves a few moments here, either in our downward dog, or we can release down to our child's pose by bending the knees to the earth, letting them gently splay outward as we reach the hips, the sit bones, to the heels. And then as we find ourselves a few moments to let that breath return to our bodies. And if we found our way into our child's pose, making our way back into our downward dog, we'll begin to draw the shoulders up and over the wrists, working that length through the legs as the knees step together for our plank on knees. We'll roll over the toes as we begin to reach the hips back and up to our downward dog. We'll all find a nice deep inhalation, lengthening through the spine. On exhale, allows those knees to gently bend. The gaze will draw forward as we step, hop, or walk the feet between the hands. Lifting to our half forward fold. We'll gently release to our forward fold. And we'll find ourselves reverse swan diving all the way up to our Utthita Hastasana. Gently we'll release the hands to our heart center, finding that Stamasitihi. And we'll begin to step the feet just wider than shoulder distance apart. As we find our way into our Malasana squat, we'll turn the toes out to that availability and that comfortableness. As we gently begin to release the sit bones down to the earth, allowing that bend in the knees, that hinge at the hips, we want to continue to work the length through our spine. So we find that we maintain the hug of the low belly, that gentle strengthening across the base of the ribs, letting the shoulders relax back and down. We'll find that stretch through the inner hip flexors, that gentle strengthening through the quadriceps here in our Malasana squat. And we're going to find ourselves twisting here today. So we're going to take that right hand down to the earth, and we're going to begin to extend that left hand back and up towards the corner of the ceiling and the wall behind us. Letting the shoulders continue to relax back and down the spine. We're going to find that reach through those fingertips today. Just work that length across the collarbones. And gently we'll release this twist back to our midline. We'll find our left hand releases down to the earth as we begin to reach that right hand back and up towards the corner of the ceiling and the wall behind us. Again, we want to find that the shoulders relax back and down the spine, that we hug the low belly in, that we maintain that evenness of weight distributed between our feet. And then we'll find ourselves remembering to extend through those fingertips, working that length across the collarbones. And gently we'll release our twist back to our midline. We'll find ourselves grounding the palms upon the earth, the sit bones gently ground. We extend the legs out in front of us, making our way into our Dandasana as we step the hands alongside the hips. Working that length out of the foundation of our sit bones, that reach through the heels. Gently we'll hug the low belly in as we reach the chest towards the toes, working our way into our forward fold, our Paschimottanasana. Now we want to find that we have an extension through the back sides of the legs. And we want to feel this stretch from the tips of our toes, all the way through the foot, the legs, up the low back, through the upper back, the neck, the top of the head. And we're like, well, how do you stretch all of that? So what we want to find is that reach through the heels, the draw of the tops of the feet in towards the body, the reach through the tips of the toes towards the forehead. That availability to ground through the sit bones, so that we take the pelvis forward, that hug of our low belly. We continue to lengthen through the spine as we draw the floating ribs together. We allow the shoulders to remain relaxed. The neck gently releases as the head begins to fall gently towards the earth. And then we've invited that stretch across the back side of our body, that intense west side stretch, or a Paschimottanasana. Finding ourselves in drawing the gaze forward, we reach through the chest forward and up. The shoulders gently return up and over the hips. We'll find our right knee bends as that right foot gently draws to the outside of our left leg. We'll hug the knee into the chest, that lengthening through the spine. Today we're going to invite that left knee to bend as well as we draw that left heel up towards that right hip, working our way into that full Lord of the Fish posture today. So if this isn't available, what's really cool is that foot can be out. It can extend out in front of us, and we can find that we can always choose to use our half Lord of the Fish posture to find the depth of our twist. So we'll hug the knee into the chest, finding that availability for yourself. We begin to roll that right shoulder back and down as we encourage this twist through the core. That right hand gently begins to ground upon the earth. Now we'll take that left elbow and we'll begin to place it to the outside of our right knee. Now we want to encourage that stretch through the piriformis, so we want to draw that knee continually across the body so that we find that availability to twist out of our foundation. The hug of the low belly lengthens through the low back as we keep that tailbone off the earth. We draw the floating ribs together, letting the shoulders relax back and down, and we'll find that we can extend through the fingertips and the toes as we find that reach all the way through our arms. And then gently we can find that we release this twist. We'll extend that left foot back out in front of us. We'll reach that right foot out in front of us, and we'll take a gentle look the other way just for a moment here as we find our way back to our midline. And then we'll invite that left knee to bend. We'll draw that left foot to the outside of our right leg. Maybe we'll invite that right knee to bend as we begin to work our way in towards that full Lord of the Fish posture today. So we're going to gently begin to work that knee into the chest, and again we can find that that leg can stay extended and it can find its way on the path over. Maybe it's just a practice, guys. And so we'll draw that knee into the chest. We hug that low belly in. We lengthen through that low back, finding that extension through the spine. We'll roll that left shoulder back and down as that left hand grounds upon the earth. That right arm will gently begin to work its way to the outside of our left knee. Find that we continue to relax the shoulders. We want them to draw gently back and down the spine. We want to invite that twist into the body so that we're stretching through one side of the body, that we strengthen through another. Those shoulders relax back and down. And the left side should be getting stretched. That right side is getting strengthened. And then we find ourselves in that half lord of the fish. That firm foundation through the sit bones, that length through the spine, that extension through all 20 points of our extremities. And that's all the tips of the fingers and the toes. And then we extend through the top of the head as well, where we make it 21. And gently we'll find that release back to our midline. We'll gently assist that right foot out in front of us. We'll extend that left foot out to meet it. We'll find a quick gaze to the opposite side as we find our return to our midline. And gently we'll relax onto our backs. We'll bend the knees so that the feet are flat upon the earth. And we'll give ourselves just a moment here, working that length into our spine. And we'll begin to work our way into our bridge posture today. So as we're going to work our way into our bridge, we want to keep the gaze up at the sky as we continue to ground through the shoulders firmly. We want to notice that we're going to be grounding into our feet, especially through those heels. Think chair for this bridge posture of that the lower half of our body. So what we want to do is we want to find the hug of our low belly, and we begin to lift the hips towards the sky as we press into the feet and ground through the shoulders. We want to notice that strength through that foundation of the legs, noticing how it's held in those quadriceps as we feel that gentle stretch across the front side of the hips, the hug of the low belly. It continues to lengthen through the torso. We draw those floating ribs together so that we can ground into those shoulders. And then we allow the neck to remain relaxed so that we find the extension all the way through the crown of our head. Gently, maybe we want to begin to work those hands together, interlacing those fingers. Maybe we want to extend through the knuckles, trying to reach through our feet. As we work that gentle roll of the shoulders a little bit more firmly into the earth, as we continue to find that availability of lift through the hips. The hug of the low belly, grounding with the strength of our foundation into the earth. And gently, we'll unlace the hands, we'll release those arms alongside the body. And we'll gently begin to roll, one vertebrae at a time, through that entire thoracic spine. Once we feel those ribs come all the way down to the ground, we release that entire pelvis to the earth. We'll gently relax the knees over to the right-hand side. We'll draw them back to midline and relax them over to the left. And we'll find that back up to our midline, and we'll continue with this windshield wipering of the knees, to the left and to the right and to the left and to the right. And then as we even it out to that left-hand side, drawing them back to our midline, we'll find our way back into our bridge posture, grounding through the shoulders and the pelvis, and inhale begins to work those hips up towards the sky, finding that length through the spine. We want to hug the low belly in and draw those floating ribs together. Maybe we work those hands together, reaching through those knuckles, working that extension through the arms. Continuing to work that grounding through the shoulders, that strength into the foundation of our feet. And now we can hang out here. We can find ourselves working our bridge posture. But if we'd like to try something, maybe we want to begin to reach that right foot off of the earth and extend through the heel up towards the sky. We'll notice that we want to continue to keep those hips parallel with the earth. As we reach through that right heel, really try and send that right foot up to the sky with that extension through the leg. And then gently, we'll float that right foot back down to the earth. We'll lift that left foot off the ground as we begin to reach through that left heel up towards the sky again. Those hips nice and parallel to the earth. And maybe we're just hanging out in our bridge, working that extension through our spine. And as we find that left foot gently floats its way back down to the earth. We'll gently unlace the hands as those arms release alongside the body. We'll find our roll one vertebrae at a time down the back as the pelvis gently grounds. And then we'll draw the knees into the chest. Gently, we'll wrap the arms around the shins. Give ourselves a really, really gentle hug of appreciation. And we'll extend the arms out today to our cactus arms. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend the elbows to a 90 degree, those fingertips reaching up towards the wall above our head. We're going to relax into those shoulders and the pelvis. And we're going to find the knees just over the hips. We're going to find those shins parallel to the earth, and we're going to make our way into some stomach churning posture today with a bit of an arm variation. So we're going to begin to let those knees fall over to the right hand side, but we're going to pause 1 inch off the earth. So we can then draw those knees back up over the hips, and we can find that release over to the left hand side. Again, pausing off the earth so that our inhale can draw the knees back up and over the hips, finding that one cycle of our stomach churning posture. So we'll release the knees over to the right, pausing just off the ground, so that we inhale back up to our midline. Our exhale releases gently over to the left. We find that pause before we touch the earth, as we then inhale, drawing the knees back up and over the hips, completing cycle number 2. And then we'll find that release to the right, that draw of them back up to our midline, that release over to the left. And again, that lift with that inhale to our midline. Cycle number 3, and this time our exhale draws the knees into the chest. Wrap the arms around the shins. Draw that selves up into a nice itty-bitty little ball. And then gently, we'll relax the arms alongside the body, the shoulders release. We extend through the legs. Maybe the soles of the feet ground upon the earth at the outer edge of our mat with those knees falling together as we work our way into our own Shavasana. And as we find our way into this Shavasana posture, letting ourselves just relax, noticing the strengths and the stretches that we moved through in our practice. The challenges and difficulties, along with the ease and simplicity that existed. And gently reflecting upon our practice. Allowing that breath to move through our body. Just simply allowing ourselves to be. And as we gently begin to draw the awareness of our mind back to our bodies, inviting movement, we can wiggle the fingers and the toes, roll the wrists and the ankles in circles, stretch as if we had woken from a nap. We'll gently work the knees into the chest. We rock over onto our right hand side, finding ourselves a few moments here in our fetal position. And gently as we make our way to a comfortable seated position. And the most important thing is that it's comfortable and that it's seated. And it can be anything from a simple cross-legged, crisscross applesauce. Maybe we find a depths pose, a half lotus, a full lotus, a bound angle, a hero's pose. Maybe we just hang out in our Dandasana. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And as you continue to put consistency into your practice, progress becomes readily sealed. So do continue, and do continue to have fun. So thank you, and Namaste Yogi.